Yes, so this data from the Centre for Cities has found that 11 cities have, and I think we can see the list of them, which, as I say, includes Sunderland, Barnsley and Southend, have all now have footfall as good or better than before the pandemic. So very positive news there. And it tends to be the smaller towns and cities that seem to be bouncing back better in terms of getting people back into their city centres. Rather than the bigger cities. I mean, one of the worst performer was actually London, where just over half of people have gone back into the centre of London compared to before the pandemic. And it's believed that a lot of that is down to the number of office workers. Of course, many office workers are still working from home and working remotely during the pandemic.
Wakefield, you're about 15 miles from Leeds, but Wakefield's doing much better than Leeds. Any kind of ideas why that might be?
Well, interestingly, Rosie, I think a lot of it comes down to the way this data has been captured. Wakefield Council says that a lot of it is down to the fact that actually it's not necessarily as much people coming into Wakefield city centre where I am now, but it's going into the smaller towns around Wakefield, places like Horbury and Ossett that you might not know about. But with the pandemic and people shopping more locally, people are coming into those smaller areas in order to be able to benefit, and that shows up in the data. So the Wakefield district as a whole has an area known as the Five Towns, and because it's got lots of smaller towns, it seems that, according to Wakefield Council anyway, that's why they may be doing better, rather than somewhere like Leeds, which has one big centre in it, although it does have many other towns as well.
Yeah, but great news for shoppers, but prices are rising, there are tax rises around the corner, and the emergence of this new variant, Omicron, it could all go downhill.
Absolutely, Paul, and I think that's one of the concerns we have, is that this data just measures footfall, so the number of people coming in. What this data doesn't show us is how much people are actually spending. As you say, many bills are rising for a lot of people, and we're also seeing a lot of issues in terms of people being squeezed financially, and I think that's a big worry going forward in terms of how we get through the pandemic and how this recovery can go forward. Certainly, the Centre for Cities says the data tends to track what happens with other areas, and that actually that might fall back as we move forward through this sort of new strain of the pandemic.